Hollywood and old science books sold us a massive lie for over 100 years. They told us dinosaurs were giant, lazy swamp lizards that spent their entire lives baking in the tropical sun. They made them look so addicted to warm weather that a simple cold breeze would shut them down completely. Then, scientists started digging way up north in Alaska, Canada, and Antarctica. What they found buried in the frozen dirt completely wrecked that old story. They didn't just dig up one or two lost adults that took a wrong turn on their way south. No, they found whole booming animal cities. They uncovered massive herds of plant eaters, terrifying pack hunters, annoying teenage dinos, and most shockingly of all, fragile eggshells and the tiny bones of newborn babies. 70 million years ago, the Arctic wasn't covered in endless ice sheets like today. But because of where it sat on the globe, it still had one massive, unavoidable problem: pitch black winter darkness. For 4 straight months, every single year, the sun dropped below the edge of the Earth and simply refused to come back up. Imagine setting your alarm clock in mid-October, and the next time you see sunlight is late February. That is 120 days of freezing sub-zero heat, howling snowstorms, and total creepy darkness. If dinosaurs were just regular cold-blooded reptiles, an Arctic winter wouldn't just slow them down a little bit. It would turn the entire forest into a graveyard of giant frozen popsicles. Think about it. A modern alligator inside a meat freezer is not a scary monster. It is just very heavy, scaly luggage. Yet those tiny baby bones prove these animals were not packing their bags and hiking south every autumn. They were born in the ice. They raised their families in the dark. And they somehow thrived in a freezing wasteland that should have been completely impossible to survive. To understand how a bald, chicken-sized baby dino survives a 4-month blackout without central heating or a winter coat, you have to look at why normal reptiles fail so badly in the cold. Everything a living body does, from moving a leg to pumping blood, depends on tiny chemical reactions happening inside our cells. When the temperature drops, those reactions hit a brick wall. The molecules stop moving around. Muscles freeze up. Nerves stop sending brain signals. Even digestion grinds to a complete stop. Trying to run a cold-blooded lizard in freezing weather is exactly like trying to use your smartphone outside in a snowstorm when the battery is flashing at 1%. Technically, the machine is still turned on, but in reality, it is completely useless. You don't see crocodiles chasing zebras through Canadian snowdrifts for one simple reason. The crocs would freeze into ice cubes before they even crawled out of the swamp. So, if these Arctic dinosaurs could not survive as simple, cold-blooded reptiles, scientists had a huge mystery on their hands. They had to look deep inside the ancient bones to figure out what kind of engine was actually driving these creatures. Luckily for us, dinosaurs had been carrying the secret to their survival hidden inside their skeletons for millions of years. A fossil bone is not just a dead, boring piece of rock. It is like a tiny, secret diary that records exactly how an animal lived, how fast its body grew, and how hard its engine ran. When scientists cut paper-thin slices of these Arctic bones and looked at them under powerful microscopes, they were stunned. What they saw looked nothing like the slow, lazy growth rings you would find inside a modern turtle or crocodile. Instead, the inside of the dinosaur bone looked like a wild, high-speed highway of thick blood vessels and rapid growth. It looked almost identical to the bones of modern birds and mammals. These ancient Arctic beasts were building their skeletons at insane speeds. They were constantly growing and repairing their bodies right in the middle of a freezing wilderness. In the animal world, growing that fast takes a massive amount of food fuel. And burning that much fuel produces a wonderful, life-saving bonus: body heat. Every single cell in a fast-growing body acts like a tiny furnace, burning up food and constantly leaking warmth into the blood. This is the secret of warm-blooded heating. You are actually doing it right now. You are leaking heat into the room around you because evolution turned you into a walking, talking, super inefficient radiator. Dinosaurs evolved the exact same trick. Instead of waiting for the sun to warm their scaly skin, They built internal heaters that ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you think that sounds crazy, just look out your window. Every single city pigeon eating breadcrumbs on the sidewalk is a literal, surviving dinosaur running on that exact same internal heating engine. Running a warm-blooded body in the freezing dark solves the cold problem, but it immediately introduces a terrifying math problem. Furnaces require fuel, and when you turn off the sun for 4 months, the forest grocery store shuts down. Plant growth stops. Leaves die. And the green summer woods turn into a frozen, prickly wasteland. For giant, warm-blooded plant eaters, surviving the blackout meant spending 12 hours a day chewing on tough, frozen pine needles. They had to strip rough bark off tree trunks and dig through deep snow just to find enough buried roots to keep their internal fires from burning out. This was not a relaxing winter vacation. It was an exhausting, slow-motion calorie marathon where stopping to take a nap meant freezing to death. For the meat-eating predators, though, that 4-month blackout wasn't a famine. It was an all-you-can-eat dark buffet. Winter makes every starving, weak animal move just a little bit slower. And in total darkness, a forest doesn't go to sleep. It just becomes way more murderous. Hunters with built-in night vision and sharp senses tracked shivering herds through the snow, waiting for one single mistake. In the ancient Arctic, nothing went to waste. Predators crushed frozen bones just to suck out the fat, rich grease inside, treating every dead body like a survival care package. Even if big adult dinosaurs could make their own body heat and fight off starving hunters in the dark, the babies faced a brutal rule of physics that does not care how tough you are. It is all about body size versus skin surface. Think of a giant pot of hot coffee sitting on a table next to a tiny espresso cup. The giant pot stays warm for hours because it holds a massive amount of liquid compared to the skin touching the cold air. That simple rule meant multi-ton adult dinosaurs acted like giant walking heat tanks. But the tiny espresso cup, it goes stone cold in minutes. Baby dinosaurs were the espresso cups of the ancient world. Because their bodies were so tiny, they leaked heat into the freezing air way faster than their parents. Left alone in a snowstorm, a newborn would burn through its tiny energy savings and freeze solid in just a few hours. This simple rule of physics proves something amazing about dinosaur behavior. They could not have been deadbeat parents. A baby couldn't survive alone, which means adult dinosaurs were definitely not just dropping eggs in the dirt and walking away like turtles. Instead, those giant parents had to act like living, breathing, heated blankets. Fossil discoveries of adults frozen while sitting directly over their nests prove that these animals sat on their eggs just like modern birds, using their warm, feathered bodies to protect the babies. Other fossil footprints show big families traveling together through the mud, with the giant adults carefully guarding the little ones in the middle. When the icy blizzards howled through the forest, these animals almost certainly huddled together in giant defensive circles. They used their massive bodies as a brick wall against the biting wind, sharing their body heat to keep the babies alive. Thousands of years before humans discovered fire or built wooden houses, dinosaur families were already using central heating. They turned a herd of warm-blooded bodies into a giant, life-saving thermal blanket to fight off the freezing dark. When you put all these bone clues and behavior clues together, the old, boring picture of the dinosaur completely shatters. Forget the slow, scaly monsters sleeping next to tropical swamps. Replace them with something way cooler, way more adaptable, and way more like us. Imagine a towering Arctic forest buried under deep snow, with tall pine trees reaching into a sky that hasn't seen the sun in months. The air is so cold it hurts to breathe. The quiet is only broken by the heavy, rhythmic crunch of giant footsteps echoing through the woods. A family of feathered dinosaurs pushes through the snowdrifts, their warm breath rising in thick clouds of steam above their heads. Deep inside the protective huddle of the herd, a tiny, fuzzy baby dinosaur stays glued to its parent's leg. Its fast-beating heart pumps hot blood through rapidly growing bones. It has been alive for 4 months. It has survived raging blizzards and stalking night monsters, and it has literally never seen sunlight in its entire life. And then, finally, the long wait ends. Far out on the southern edge of the world, a pale orange glow bleeds across the frozen sky. For the first time in 120 days, the sun climbs back up. The ice starts to melt, the forest slowly wakes up, and the endless night is finally broken. That little baby didn't just survive by dumb luck. And it definitely didn't survive because the ancient Arctic was an easy place to live. It survived because evolution spent millions of years building an engine that could conquer the impossible. The biggest enemy the dinosaurs ever faced wasn't a rival killer, a volcano, or even a giant rock falling from space. For generations, their most dangerous enemy arrived every single year, patiently waiting in the dark as the sun went down, and they beat it anyway,